My collection, Terra Incognita, it's about new realities and like kind of never seen before objects that you could find in the coastal landscape setting. Terra Incognita stands for unexplored terrain, or like the unknown. So that's kind of what I want to try and communicate through my work. The main inspirations have probably started after the lockdown, because we were forced to kind of find inspiration that was like available to us. So what was at home? I was living at home on the west coast, and that was kind of a chance to kind of reconnect with that landscape that I used to spend a lot of time with, like amongst growing up. I've got like kind of mini archive of shells and rocks and bones and stuff from a young age, like always collecting things that like caught my eye or like kind of interested me, but I've never used them for anything. So kind of looking at that archive at the start of our final year and thinking, oh, like I could maybe use these materials, but how?
If there's any like burnt wood, let me get that as well. I've not seen any yet.
A range of materials I find are shells. Obviously I use a lot of mussel shells and cockle shells. Loads of types of stones, so you've got like quartz and agate, all sorts. Bones as well. I'm drawn to things that visually catch my eye, but also what they might mean to me.
So, gotta keep this. This can get used for my black pieces once I dry it out and all that. I think I actually saw, I'm going to try and run to that.
Feathers and bones might have like different meanings to shells and stuff, so it's kind of what do they mean? What's their amuletic properties?
There's a big bit of burnt wood, but you can scrape that all off and use it. What's in there? Yes.
These are like hinges. A lot of my pieces consist of metalworking processes such as acid etching and oxidizing. I also use a variety of precious and non-precious stones cast and embedded into the material just to help really enhance the texture. Texture is just a really big thing for me, and I like to cast lots of things into the material as well as embed things into the material, like set stones and rock pool casted silver. I try and incorporate the decorative aspects on the front of pieces and try and make them functional on the back. Well, that's the case for my brooches anyway. Certain clasps and attachments on bracelets and stuff, I really tried to think like how can I make them kind of hidden so they can be wearable pieces of art and pieces of art in their own right, or sculpture on their own.
So here we're just melting up the wax that I can then use to draw.
I first began starting to mix the found materials with wax and silicone that I was using to cast the rock with. So crushing up my found objects gave me like a kind of pigment that I could then mix with the other materials to make a new material almost. And then I actually started using jesmonite, which again was really interesting but wasn't really giving me like the aesthetic that I really wanted. And that's when I started using resins. The resins were good because depending on what I mixed it with, whether it was crushed bone or crushed shell, like you would get different colours and all that stuff. And the moulds were really important in this process because I use alginate moulds which react with the resin. You're not supposed to cast resins in alginate because of the moisture. So I started doing that because I feel like it left a kind of bone quality to the casts, and it started to look like a kind of natural object that you would find out like in the wild. So that was like a key turning point for me.
There we go. Then we've got like really textural casts. Oh, sorry, I'll put this so I can kind of scratch that out a wee bit. Also use silicone as well, but that needs to dry overnight. So this is like a much faster way of doing it. Once I've cleaned it all up, that's kind of what I do.
I'm wanting to look into bioplastics and degradable materials using the found objects that I use. I'm very interested in like gemstones and natural elements, so what happens when I combine them together to create a new material essentially. It's almost like kind of making my own rock, again to resemble the rock back home. So yeah, just trying to create new realities through new objects. I want my work to resemble the natural world in an alternative way.